Have you ever thought about doing an online course for your business? So not doing an online course, but actually making an online course for your business. Whether you're in retail or whether you're in a service-based business, my guest today is going to convince you that it just might be a really good idea. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 79 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really appreciate you making me one of them. If you're a first-time listener to the podcast, then hey, super welcome to you. I'm so pleased to have you here. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and it's my job via this podcast and social media and just about everywhere else that I hang out to make your business life simpler. I'm a thought leader when it comes to marketing here in Australia and a marketing strategist for small businesses. Why? Because I know business can be lonely, hard. Sometimes it's really complicated, and look, it's rarely easy, but it definitely should be simple, or at least simpler. So of course, that's my commitment to you here on the so-named Small Business Made Simple podcast. One of the ways that I can help you make your life a little bit simpler is by having a group of like-minded business owners, which happens to be on Facebook, which happens to be called Like-Minded Business Owners. It's a great group. If you're not part of the group, then, go have a look in there, join in the conversation. There's some real movers and shakers in there that I know will just help make your life simpler in your business as well. You can find Like-Minded Business Owners simply by going to Facebook and searching that, Like-Minded Business Owners, or of course you can go to the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/79. This episode is brought to you by my new mini marketing makeover workshop. I think given that what we've all gone through in the past 6 months, it's time to knuckle down and really have a look at our marketing. The landscape has changed. Things have changed. So we really need to take stock and make sure that we know where we're heading and that our marketing is still hitting all the right markets, hitting all the right spots. In the workshop, well, actually it's a webinar, we'll go through the 4 essential marketing ingredients for business success. We'll look at your messaging, your methodology, we'll look at your marketing strategy and also your mindset, because that plays a really big part. These 4 key marketing ingredients, if done well, will propel your business from its current state, which is kind of where you are now, to your desired state, which is reaching those goals that you've set, whether it be for now or those big, hairy, audacious goals. It's a free mini training. I'd love for you to go along, and it's really what your business needs right now to be in tip-top shape to take on the rest of 2020. The mini marketing makeover workshop will be held on Tuesday, the 14th of July from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. From 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. It will be recorded, so if you can't make it live, then you're more than welcome to sign up and you will get a copy of it sent to you. And then you can head into the Like-Minded Business Owners group and ask any questions that you might have as you watch that replay. The link to sign up is bit.ly/mini marketing makeover. So that's all the W's, bit.ly, so bit.ly/mini marketing makeover. If you have any troubles, just drop me a DM on Instagram or send me an email at jen@jendonovan and I'll send that link over to you. Or of course, you can head in and have a look at the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/79. This week I have a guest and her name is Winch, and she's coming to chat to us about course creation. It's something we haven't really talked about on this podcast before. Sam is like one of those connections that I have these days, which is online. So I've never met Sam in real life. One of these days when I get really rich, I'm going to have a party and invite all these people that I've never met face to face and have a glass of wine with them because I have so many amazing online connections. It's just wonderful. But one day I would like to hope that I would meet them all face to face. So like I said, Sam is one of my online friends. Her and I converse over social media and share and like and tag things, for our respective audiences and what we think they would find value in. And of course, we call ourselves friends. We're just online friends. So when Sam asked if my audience would find some value in talking about course creation and if she could come on the podcast and have a bit of a chat to you about it, my answer was hell yes. COVID-19 has seen many businesses pivot online and loads of courses are popping up. And I'm actually a buyer of a few of those courses, of course. But whether you've ever thought about building an online course for your audience or not, I promise you, by the end of this interview, it's going to be like one of those little earworms. You know, those things that you just can't get out of your head? I know that you mightn't have thought about it up until today, but I know that Sam is going to explain it in such a way that courses or e-courses, will become one of those things you'll start to look at inside your business and think, will that work for me? An e-course is really, as Sam explains it, just one of those ways that you can stop having those repetitive conversations that you're having, and also a way of giving some really great value to your audience with what they want you to talk about anyway. Anyway, service-based, retail-based, it doesn't matter, and Sam will prove it to you. So let's get into the interview. Today on the podcast, I'm really excited to have Sam Winch with us. Yes, that is her name, Sam Winch, and she really embraces her name, which is one of the things I absolutely love about her. But the other thing that I really love is she's here to talk about course creation, something we haven't spoken about on the podcast yet. So welcome, Sam, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm a little bit of a fan. I was having a fangirl moment before I came on, so I'm just going to get over that.
Now, listen, guys, that's the only reason why I brought her on the podcast, so we'll just finish up here. No. Thank you. That's very beautiful. Sam, for those who don't know you, I would love for you to tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
So I am Sam Winch, the course creator, not the lunchtime food. And I do exactly what the name says, which is I make courses. I work with clients across a variety of industries and areas, helping them to turn the thing that they do most often into some kind of reusable content. And that comes in a whole variety of forms. But outside of that, I've got 4 kids. So if I'm not busy running a business and I'm kid wrangling, and I'm sure a lot of you know how that feels.
Absolutely. I think there's probably a lot of people nodding their heads right now. Absolutely. Especially where we are, which is, coming out of lockdown and COVID-19, and really glad to perhaps most of us, should I say, glad to see the back of our children heading back to school in the next couple of days. Sam, one of the things you just said, which I thought was really great, and I'd really love to start there, is, you were talking about, you help people with the things that they just always do, and turning that into a teachable moment, I guess, or into a different delivery. So what is course creation? What do you mean by the fact that you create courses?
So it's a pretty big topic, but normally what I do is I work with clients to find the one thing that they keep doing again and again and again, right? So we've all got it. You either keep getting these questions via email and you find yourself repeating yourself all the time, or you're taking clients always through the same process and the same series of steps. If there's a thing that's happening in your business that is repeatable, we can probably put that content into some sort of format where people can repeat it by themselves, right? They don't need to keep sending you 100 emails asking you the same question, because you can go, that's a really great question. Head here, I've already answered it for someone else. And that's really what we're doing, is we're trying to take away that time factor. And I was working with an accountant really, and it's the perfect example, because they get the same sort of questions all the time. It's questions about structure and company processes and all those sorts of questions. And they will answer the same question time and time again. Now, there's still a need for their personalized services, but there are some things where the answer is always the same. And so what we can do is we can put that content in a place where they can send their clients back to it and go, that's a great question. Here's the answer.
That's beautiful. I think that you might have pricked a lot of ears that perhaps now that are really listening in and leaning into this little podcast episode. So I guess my first curly question that I have for you is, I have an audience that is both service based and retail based. So who is course creation for? Is it just for people like the accountants and people like me who do coaching and things like that, or can retailers actually, look at course creation as well?
So there is a bit of a perception that it can only be used for service-based businesses. But what I'd like to do is look at it as a way of providing an experience for your audience. So if you're a retailer, let's say that I've got a friend who sells wallpaper, right? So there's nothing to stop her putting together a short series of videos as part of a mini course to teach people how to apply their wallpaper. Or there's nothing to stop her putting together a short series of videos or a series of pieces of content about interior design and how to choose the best piece of wallpaper that's going to go with the rest of your furniture. So if you're selling something, what you can do is put together information around that teaches your customers how to use that thing well, or how to have the best experience with your product. If it's clothing, how can they wear it best? How can they look their best? If it's makeup, how can they apply it? If it's shoes, if it's an expensive pair of shoes, how can they look after it so it lasts, so their purchase is useful? Like the item you're selling is the same, but what we want to do is provide a great customer experience around that. And there are lots of ways you can teach your audience how to use your product so that they feel that even better about the thing they've bought. They're like, oh my God, it's amazing. And now I know how to use it properly.
Yeah, look, and I think one of the biggest objections, and I talk about something a little bit similar when we're talking about, content creation and things like that. And, with retailers and with service-based businesses and lots of those little tips that you just gave. And the question I always get back is, yeah, but they can, they could Google that, or they could find that on YouTube and things like that. So what would your answer be to that?
Yes, they can. They can, right? There's no sugarcoating
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there is no sugarcoating that. You're right, they can. But there's a couple of things we want to do. One, they can go and find information on YouTube, but there is a chance that the person then they're learning from will be doing it wrong, right? Because information is freely available on the internet, it means anybody can put information on the internet, which means it's not filtered in any way. So if you want your customers to use your product in a certain way, that information is best coming from you, because you know how best to use your product or service. The other thing is that it gives you an opportunity to, and I hate this phrase, but position yourself as an expert. I don't think it's about being an expert, but it is about staying front of mind. Like if you're the person explaining it, then they're coming back to you. They remember you. They're coming back to your website regularly. And it's those sorts of things. What we're doing is really just embedding ourselves in the lives of our clients so that they don't forget about you, because life is busy and there are a million people on the internet, but we want them to go, oh, Jen, she was great. Not only did I buy that thing, but I went back and I looked at her videos and they were really helpful. And while I was back on her website, I bought that other thing because that was really cool too. And so we're building that long-term experience rather than that one-off purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think no matter whether you're in service or retail-based business, that whole customer experience and the user experience and really deepening those relationships, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. That is yes, they can go to YouTube, but they can't hear it from you. And they bought the product from you. So clearly they have an affiliation with you, or they like you, because, we always do business with people that we like, or sometimes, well, not always, sometimes we have to do business with people we don't like, but because of monopolies, but that's a whole different conversation. But absolutely deepening customer relationships and, like you say, building that content into a course is a really fascinating way to do that. So how do you make that decision? I guess if you are a retailer, or if you are someone who's already, doing social media, maybe doing blogs and maybe even podcasting, how do you take that step? Where is that line that you go, radio, I need to turn this into a course?
It's a really hard question, because I don't think there's one fixed line for every business. And sometimes it depends on your strategy. Like if your strategy is to have all of your information in blog posts, well, that's fine, and that's a decision you've made. Normally I look at it like, do they need more help? So outside of the blog posts and the content you're putting up, do you find that people need more help? Are they emailing you or regularly asking questions? Because that's a good sign that they do need more help. And do you find that you could probably go into much more depth about the how than you're covering in your blogs and your other posts? So if you're, and I find this with my stuff, even like if I put out a blog post, it's quite broad, it's quite generalized because I'm trying to help a lot of people. So the question to myself is then, can I go into a much better how to? And if so, maybe that's the bit that goes inside the course. It's the much more detailed, specific approach rather than the broader general appeal. But yeah, it's normally, do they need more help? Are they asking lots of questions about it? And can you go deeper?
Yeah. So when we're talking courses, are we always talking a paid course? Is this always something that customers and clients are paying extra to get hold of?
Not always. Whenever I work with a client, it's always about strategy. So and I'm sure you're the same, right? It's not just about throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Instead, what we're trying to do is go in with this with a logical decision and with a strategy. So there are plenty of times when your course might be free, and that's great if that's your choice and that's your strategy. There are plenty of times when your course might be cheap. Maybe it's $5 or $25, whatever it might be. And that's great if that's your strategy. And there are plenty of times that it might be thousands of dollars and a high touch kind of support program, and that's great too. So look, it can be free, it can be really expensive, as long as you've made the decision as to why you're doing it that way and who it's helping. But there is no right answer when it comes to should it be free, should it be paid. It's really about making sure you've made the choice consciously.
Yeah, and seeing where it fits in that whole marketing strategy in the timeline of, I guess it's your customer journey, wherever it sits in your customer journey. Absolutely. So who have you seen in, your years of doing this that courses have worked really, really well for? Have you got any little examples that you can share with us? Don't have to mention names of businesses, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. But have you seen people that have perhaps embraced this and it's worked really well for them?
So accounting is probably a great example. It's seen as quite a boring industry. Apologies to all the accountants out there. But I have worked with an accountant in the past. She was glorious. She was so much fun. She had so much passion and personality. And so what she did, which worked really well for her, is built, it was a free series, but they signed up with sort of name and email address. And what it helped them do is get to know her and build a relationship with her and understand that the mental perception they've built of an accountant wasn't her. And so that's what we used it for, and that's what the strategy was. And it worked really, really well, because then the people who purchased her services were like, oh, this woman's amazing. Like, I want her to do my accounting. And it built that relationship. And that was a really good, fun way to use it too, because it was just a blast. So much fun.
Yeah, well, if there's one way to stand out from the crowd, it's be a funny accountant. So yeah, no, that's good. That's great. Have you seen a surge in courses in this whole COVID-19 of people perhaps wanting to build courses? Because I've seen a bit of a surge to online learning. Have you seen it inside your business as well?
Yes, I think it would be silly to say that there wasn't. There is definitely a surge. But what I have seen with the people that I'm working with is it's not that they were never going to do it. It's just that it had been at the bottom of a long to-do list, and this suddenly pushed it right to the top. So a lot of the people I'd worked with, they're like, oh, I'd been meaning to do it, or it was going to happen later this year, but we're going to do it now. Or actually, I had one person reach out. They'd come to me for a quote in February 2018. And then I received an email in March 2020 going, oh my God, I have to do this today. And I was like, well, I haven't heard from you for 2 years, but okay. So yes, you're right. There has been an increase, but for a lot of the people I'm working with, it was not a never. It was more of a, oh my God, this is a now rather than a maybe. And it really just enforced the thing that if they were going to do it anyway, it just brought it to the forefront.
Yeah. So what are the first steps that you would take with a client if they decided that this is the path they wanted to go down and they wanted you to do it? Because I know that you do have courses that can help people do it, but you also have a done for you model. So what's the first step perhaps in that done for you model that you take with your clients?
So it's actually the same step no matter how they decide to come through me. And it's about really working out what they're trying to do. So I take them through a process of working out their business strategy, and it'll be the same for marketing, I have no doubt. What is your business strategy? Who is your audience? What is the outcome we're trying to achieve? And then we validate the idea. So it's like, okay, you want to build this thing for these people to do this thing. Do they actually want that? Like, is that useful for them? before we put a whole heap of time and money into doing this, like, do they want to buy that? And that's the thing we do first. And a lot of people come to me thinking that the first thing we're going to do is record videos or write PDFs, but it's not. It's that groundwork of really making sure that this is something that's good for everyone. And then we go away and we validate that idea. Once we've passed that, we can map out your content and your outlines. We can decide on your platform. We can do those kind of things. But for anyone, and no matter if you're working with me or if you're doing it by yourself, start with that groundwork, because it will make everything else so much quicker and easier in the long run. Really answer those questions before you get started. Like, why are you doing it? What is the outcome? Who is it for? And do they actually want it?
Yeah, that and I'm sure that my audience have heard me talk about it a little bit, that those 3 words that I absolutely hate in business but say often: for what purpose? Why are you doing it? It can't be just because it's the next bright shiny object that you think that you need. It's sort of like, for what purpose? So yeah, and I love that. That's the whole validation side. So that's awesome.
I might need I might need you sitting in my office, like, repeating that to me, though, because I'm very easily distracted by the pretty shiny new things. So I'm just going to remember Jen sitting next to me, like, for what purpose, Sam? For what purpose?
Yeah, look, it gets ingrained in you. My mentor certainly ingrained it in me, and I will often hear him sitting on my shoulder, and it's kind of like I roll my eyes and think, oh, there it is again, that little subconscious voice going, why are you doing this? Yes, it happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. What does a course look like? I guess every course is probably a little bit different, but in general, are we talking mainly online videos with some workbooks? What does a course look like?
It's a really good question. And the answer is, it depends. So there is no one right answer to this. Like, some of my audience use videos, some of them don't. Some of them create really in-depth workbooks, some of them don't. Some of them drip feed all of their content only via email and don't use a course platform. There isn't a right. What it does look like is good quality content. What it does look like is helping your students implement, because that's the kicker here, right? This is the difference between content in a course, is we want them to do something with it. Not just passively read it or watch it. We want them to go away and do something. So we're going to guide how they do it. And then normally there's some aspect of support. So that might be coaching. It might be a Facebook group. It might be an email address they can reach out to, but there's some element of support. So good content, guided implementation, and support. But how you deliver those things, at the end of the day, doesn't matter. If it's good for you and a good fit for your audience, then that's great. It doesn't have to be a platform. It doesn't have to be a fancy website. It doesn't have to be a video. As long as you're helping them get the outcome they want in a guided fashion, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that anyone who is listening to this podcast that is still a little bit afraid, not quite the word, but perhaps doesn't like video, I think you've just made their day to think that they can do this and they don't have to appear on the camera. I think perhaps you've actually just made them do a little bit of a happy dance.
And for some of my clients, like, it's not even a should we, it's a don't do video. Like, if you've got an audience who's in regional areas and doesn't have a lot of internet, lots of video is no good for them. They can't watch it. They can't use it. It eats up all of their bandwidth. Like, it's just not helpful. If you've got an audience who's hearing impaired, unless you've got great captions and transcriptions, the video is no good for them anyway. So video can be really useful, but it's a tool. It's just one tool to deliver content. And there are so many other great ways we can do it. You don't have to have video at all, unless you need to show them something, screen shared, that kind of thing, in which case it's great. But you don't need it necessarily.
Yeah, no, and that's such a valid point. I know, and I know that you've just started a podcast as well, so we'll chat about that in a sec. But sometimes I find myself when I'm podcasting and I'm trying to explain how to do something, and I'm actually writing it in the air. I've got these my fingers going wild, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I wish I could just show them what I'm trying to say. But my only medium for a podcast, of course, is voice. So yeah, no, absolutely. If you need to show someone something, it's a little bit harder to say it than perhaps what it is to actually show it. Very good, very good. So Sam, tell me a little bit about creating a course and what you can actually do for someone. If someone is listening to this podcast and you've piqued their interest, what should they do? What have you got, any resources that you can share? Or
so probably too many is the answer to that question. Come and have a look. There aren't a lot of Sam Winches around, so you can find me fairly easily on the internet. I've got a blog, I've got a podcast, but I also do free weekly classes. So once a week, every week on the same day, same time, we run a live class. And we talk about lots of different aspects of course creation. Today, we were talking about using email to support your students through your course. Last week, we were talking about launching. The week before, we were talking about tech. Like it's really varied. But what we do is those 30-minute classes are live so that you can ask questions and have a chat to me and get some input as well. And they're a good place to get started. Like, because if nothing else, it will pique your interest. Like you might watch a class and be like, oh, that is interesting. Maybe I could do that. And that's a good place to get going.
So where do you host those?
So come across to samwinch.com.au and there will be a sign up form and you'll get the links and all the details sent straight to your email address so you can do it that way.
Yeah, right. Beautiful. Is there anything that I've missed that you think, you would love my audience to hear about course creation? Is there any question that I've kind of skipped over or missed a little bit? Any other last bits of, I guess, wisdom and gold?
So I think the one thing that I always want people to know is that it doesn't have to be hard. Like, yes, there's work involved, all right? Like it's going to take some time to build the content or to work the stuff out, but don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Don't make it up in your head as this huge, horrible thing. Just clearly work out like step by step. Okay, today I'm just going to focus on recording one video. Tomorrow I'm just going to focus on writing one PDF, like whatever it might be, because when you try and look at the whole picture from the start, it looks terrifying. It looks like this whole big new thing that you've never tried before, but it doesn't need to be that bad. Like, let's just break it down into tiny little baby steps and work one step at a time. And don't make it scarier than it needs to be.
Yeah. Beautiful. What's that saying that I don't know, I probably quote it wrong all the time. I don't know, someone will correct me one day, I'm sure, but what is it? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you do a course? Just one little element every time, whether you dedicate an hour or 5 minutes to it each day, but it's just that consistency to get to the end product.
That's it. Yeah.
Beautiful. So Sam, other than going to your website, how else can my audience get in touch with you or follow along and see whether, creating a course is something that they should be investing a little bit of effort and energy into investigating?
So like most people, I probably spend far too much time on social media. You can find me at Sam Winch on just about any of the platforms, Facebook, Instagram. I'm probably there. I'm probably there when I shouldn't be there. So if you see me online, tell me to go away and do some work. But come and find me on all of the social platforms.
Beautiful. And I will have links to those in the show notes too, of course. Sam, this has been an awesome chat. I really, I love your ideas behind course creation, but I also just, love the theory behind it as well. And even though perhaps we don't like to say, we can show our expertise, that is pretty much what we are doing. And we're setting ourselves apart in this really busy world that we live in and a really crowded marketplace. So it's an awesome thing to start thinking about. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing all your knowledge so freely with us today.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Take care. I really hope you enjoyed that interview and Sam has inspired you to think a little bit left of field when it comes to creating a course in your business that can help your audience solve one of their biggest challenges or biggest roadblocks. How does that look inside your business? If you've never thought about creating a course, then perhaps Sam has inspired you to think outside that box. But that's all for episode 78. Well, actually, I think it's 79. That is all for episode 79. I will be back next Thursday, of course, with another great episode that can help you simplify your business in 2020. Don't forget to sign up to my mini marketing makeover webinar on the 14th of July. That link again is bit.ly/mini marketing makeover. I'd love to see you on the live webinar. If you're enjoying this podcast, and hopefully you've listened this far, so hopefully you are, please don't forget to subscribe and maybe share this episode with another superstar business owner who's doing that daily grind and would really appreciate someone making their business life simpler. If you've got an extra 2 minutes of your day, if you could leave a rating or a review, I would love that. It would simply make my day and put a smile on my dial. If you've done one before, then please feel free to leave a second one. I will, of course, see you next week for episode 80. Oh my my God, episode 80. That means we're like 21 away from 100. I don't know what I'm going to do to celebrate that, but hey, I've got 21 episodes to think about it. In the meantime, let's hang out on social and get social on social. You'll find me at Instagram at Small Business Made Simple, Facebook, come and join the Like-Minded Business Owners group, or of course, hang out with me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn, but whatever you do, my small business peeps, remember, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.